Have you ever noticed that the only truths we're never allowed to say are the ones everyone secretly suspects? That when it comes to men and women, the moment you speak honestly, the world turns hostile, not because you're wrong, but because you've touched something real? We pretend the sexes are the same, that every difference is a result of history or culture or oppression. But deep down, in the silence of our instincts, we know better. Schopenhauer did not flinch from these truths. He didn't wrap them in poetry. He didn't apologize for them. He named them, coldly, clearly, brutally. In his eyes, the differences between men and women were not invented by society. They were carved into flesh by nature itself. Where others saw romance, he saw reproduction. Where others saw equality, he saw a delicate war of interests. And where others clung to illusion, he tore it apart. This script is not about attacking women, nor is it about glorifying men. It is about revealing the tension that has always existed beneath the surface, the biological current no ideology can erase. It is about power, deception, instinct, and the uncomfortable machinery that drives love, society, and identity. These are the truths no one wants to hear. Because once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Once you understand them, you cannot go back to the myth. You begin to realize that what we call love is not what we think, that the roles we play are not as chosen as we imagine, that the harmony we chase might be a lie designed to keep us from facing what we are. This is not opinion. This is not hatred. This is nature, seen without sentiment. And once you've seen it, you either deny it or accept the cost of knowing. Equality was not discovered. It was declared, not observed in nature, but demanded by politics. The idea that men and women are essentially the same was never the conclusion of observation, but the product of ideological hope. A doctrine forged in revolution, not reality. Once, society accepted differences not as oppression, but as fact. Men and women had distinct roles, distinct strengths, and distinct weaknesses. But modernity changed the terms. It was no longer enough to seek fairness. Fairness became sameness, and sameness required blindness. To sustain this illusion, every instinct had to be denied. Boys are taught not to notice girls are different. Girls are told their desires are not really their own. Attraction is rebranded as bias. Instinct becomes bigotry. Biology is rewritten as opinion. And when this rewriting fails to match lived experience, the failure is blamed not on the lie, but on those who notice it. Schopenhauer did not bow to these illusions. He knew that nature is not interested in equality, only in function, in survival, in reproduction. It does not care how we feel about it. The lioness is not oppressed for hunting differently than the lion. The peacock is not accused of vanity. Yet in humans, difference is now treated as defect, and so a massive social effort is made to erase it, not through evidence, but through repetition, shame, and fear. This is the mask of equality, not a vision of harmony, but a denial of nature's logic. It forces us to pretend that men and women are not playing different games with different rules. But nature does not respect ideology. It waits patiently beneath our illusions. And when those illusions collapse, as they always do, it reclaims us, without apology, without mercy. A man may ask why he exists. A woman rarely does. She simply is. Her body carries the answer before the question is even formed. She is not called to explain life, but to sustain it. In her, nature has no need for abstraction. It speaks directly. Through blood, through birth, through desire. Where man wrestles with meaning, woman is meaning's continuation. Her existence is an extension of nature's will, untouched by the need to justify itself. This is not philosophy. It is biology. The male detaches to think. The female remains to ensure life goes on. The will to life is clearest where reason is weakest, and reason has always been a struggle against nature's pull. Men build temples and theories to escape it. Women embody it. They are nature's instrument, not its analyst, and that is why they rarely rebel against it in the same way. Modern thought insists on reversing this. It claims that men and women can be equally rational, equally detached, equally abstract. But when push comes to instinct, when death is near, when children cry, when chaos threatens, it is always the woman who returns to earth, to body, to life. She does not transcend the flesh. She obeys it. Her power lies not in resisting the world, but in anchoring it. To say this is not to insult. It is to see clearly. She is not less evolved, but more essential. Not a failure of intellect, but a triumph of survival. She is life's refusal to disappear. And while man invents, destroys, and dreams, it is woman who reminds him that life was never meant to be understood, only continued. Her purpose is not chosen. It is inherited. And no ideology can overwrite the quiet certainty of that command. Truth is rarely kind. It demands the death of illusion, the abandonment of safety, and the courage to see what others deny. But comfort soothes. It softens edges, it flatters weakness, it tells stories that keep the mind asleep. And between men and women, this war between truth and comfort plays out in vastly different ways. Men, for all their failures, are more likely to tolerate discomfort if it promises understanding. Women, more attuned to immediate needs, instinctively resist the kind of truth that unsettles. Not because they are dishonest, but because they are wired to preserve the emotional stability that life requires. This is not a judgment. It is a recognition of design. A mother cannot afford to be consumed by despair when a child cries. A woman who nurtures life must believe in its goodness, even when it fails her. Harsh truths are a luxury of those who do not bear the weight of others' survival. And so, over generations, women have developed an instinctive preference for narratives that protect rather than expose. They seek meaning in connection, not contradiction. They value cohesion over clarity. Emotional security becomes more important than philosophical rigor. The modern world has declared this sensitivity superior. Emotional intelligence is praised, discomfort is pathologized, and the sharpness of truth is blunted in the name of compassion. But compassion without reality is delusion. And the more society leans into the feminine desire for comfort, the less it tolerates what is cold, unsparing, and real. Truth does not adapt to feelings. It waits in silence, unmoved. And in the long war between what is real and what is kind, only one can survive. Sooner or later, the illusions crack. And when they do, it is not truth that breaks. It is the ones who depended on the lie. Power is rarely where it appears. It does not always sit on thrones or wear medals. Often, it whispers in lullabies and shapes the helpless before they can resist. The child is not raised by the state, nor by reason, but by the mother. And in that quiet, early shaping, more is decided than in any courtroom or battlefield. A man may command armies, but the direction of his conscience, his fears, his desires, all begin in the arms of a woman. The mother does not rule with law, she rules with presence. Her influence is not enforced, it is absorbed. Before language, before memory, before belief, the child is already marked by her warmth or her absence, her softness or her volatility. She is the first moral code, the first emotional reality, the first image of love or pain. And once this imprint is made, it is rarely undone. Society calls this nurture, as if it were gentle, but it is absolute. No king, no philosopher, no teacher has the access to a soul that a mother has in the first years of life. Her mood becomes the child's weather. Her gaze becomes his mirror. Her love, or lack of it, builds the frame through which he will see the world. And no ideology can undo what was formed before reason ever spoke. Modern culture exalts maternal love, but refuses to examine its cost. We speak of mothers as saints, yet ignore the cruelty, the control, the silent grip of expectation and guilt that often come with it. Nurture is not always kind. Sometimes it suffocates, sometimes it breaks, and yet it is untouchable because it hides behind innocence. Power, at its most terrifying, is the kind that doesn't look like power at all. Desire is never free. It is a transaction, veiled in emotion, but driven by something colder: exchange. Beneath the poetry of longing lies a brutal logic. The man wants youth, beauty, softness. The woman wants strength, stability, provision. Both speak of love, but both negotiate for gain. The currency is attraction. The cost is honesty. What society calls romance is often little more than a marketplace with rules no one admits to following. The man performs. He displays status, confidence, ambition, not out of vanity, but because he knows what attracts. The woman signals fertility, vitality, receptiveness, not out of deception, but instinct. Neither reads a manual. Nature wrote it into them long before thought could intervene. In this exchange, the man is the pursuer, the risk-taker, the one who invests. The woman is the gatekeeper, the chooser, the one who selects from among those who offer. Her value peaks early, his later. She holds power in her presence. He earns power through effort. She is desired. He must become desirable. These dynamics remain, even as culture pretends they are outdated. Apps, fashion, flirtation, they all still run on the same invisible algorithm. Attraction is not egalitarian. It is efficient. It does not care what is fair. It only cares what works. And what works is rarely what we are told to value. There is no romance without calculation, no seduction without strategy. This is not cynicism. It is biology in motion. We dress it up with flowers and words, but behind every gesture is a price. Some pay with effort, others pay with time. Some get what they want, most do not. And when the deal is done, when beauty fades or status slips, the desire it bought dissolves, coldly, predictably, like all transactions that no longer serve a purpose. As society grows more comfortable, it grows more sensitive. And with sensitivity comes a shift, not just in values, but in structure. The harshness that once built civilizations is now seen as cruelty. Stoicism is replaced by empathy, judgment by inclusion, certainty by endless dialogue. Slowly, almost invisibly, culture begins to soften. And in this softening, the masculine is replaced by the feminine. It begins in language. Words are policed for offense, not inaccuracy. Tone matters more than content. Feeling overrides fact. Art becomes personal therapy, not confrontation. Politics shifts from principle to emotion, from debate to consensus. Conflict is avoided, even when it is necessary. Hard truths are buried beneath euphemism. The ideal man is no longer strong, but safe, harmless, agreeable, emotionally fluent. Masculinity becomes a pathology to cure, not a force to understand. What emerges is not balance, but inversion. A world where protection becomes control, where the demand for kindness silences dissent, where the maternal instinct to shield from pain is applied to every level of discourse. But a culture built to avoid discomfort cannot endure challenge. A civilization that fears offense will not survive confrontation, and history does not forgive the weak. This is not the fault of women. It is the result of a society that elevates comfort above truth, protection above growth. The feminine spirit, when untempered by its masculine counterpart, spreads not by force, but by sentiment, until sentiment becomes law, until no one dares speak plainly, until nothing can be criticized without apology. Every great culture had a point where it turned inward, softened, and fell. Not because it was conquered, but because it could no longer bear the weight of reality. When emotion sits on the throne, truth becomes treason. And from there, collapse is only a matter of time. The most enduring myth of modernity is not equality, it is innocence. Not the belief that women are equal to men, but that they are somehow purer, more compassionate, more nurturing, less corrupt. This image is everywhere, in media, in law, in love. The woman is the victim, never the villain. Her faults are excused as reaction, never intention. Her actions, no matter how calculated, are seen through a lens that forgives before it questions. But innocence is not natural. It is constructed, preserved by culture, protected by men, and reinforced through guilt. From childhood, the girl is taught that her mistakes come from emotion, not agency, that her cruelty is accidental, that her anger is justified. She is told that her power is harmless, her decisions selfless, her heart clean. And when these illusions are shattered, when her manipulation is exposed, when her ambition turns ruthless, it is not her who is blamed. It is the man for provoking her, for not understanding, for not protecting her from herself. This distortion is not just personal, it is systemic. Courts favor mothers, schools forgive girls. Society rewrites her faults as struggles and paints her as fragile, even when she holds the upper hand. To question her motives is labeled misogyny. To hold her accountable is seen as cruelty. And so she becomes untouchable, not by merit, but by myth. Yet behind every myth lies reality. Women, like men, are capable of cruelty. They lie, they betray, they seek power. Not despite their femininity, but through it. The difference is not in capacity, but in concealment. Men are called predators when they hunt. Women are called survivors when they do the same. Innocence, when falsely granted, is not a virtue. It is a shield that hides power, and all power, unchecked, becomes dangerous. Every comfort has a cost. The warm bed, the silent streets, the clean water, all of it paid for in blood, effort, and sacrifice. Civilization is not a gift from nature. It is built, relentlessly, painfully, by those willing to endure what others avoid. And across history, it has been men who have shouldered the weight of this burden, not because they are better, but because they were expected to suffer. From the earliest tribes to modern cities, men have been the expendable sex, sent to war, to mines, to rooftops and sewers. Their worth measured not by their comfort, but by their utility. Their deaths are not mourned the same way. Their pain is less visible, less pitied. They are born into a quiet expectation. You must build, or you are nothing. This is the price of civilization. It is not just risk, it is silence. The man who breaks, who falters, is discarded. No one asks what it cost him to hold everything together. No one cares what it took to provide. His value ends where his usefulness ends. And in exchange, he asks for little, only respect, only acknowledgement. Yet even this is now considered arrogance. Modern society speaks often of liberation, of comfort, of progress. But the world it enjoys was not made through kindness. It was carved out of the wilderness by hands that bled. The plumbing, the power, the protection, All of it stands on the shoulders of men who were told they did not matter, so long as they produced. Now, in an age where comfort is abundant, we have forgotten the cost. We mock masculinity, we erase its suffering, but without it, the walls crack, the lights go out, and the world that demands so much forgets what it took to create it. What men fear is not that women are weak, but that they are not. That beneath centuries of protection and politeness lies a force neither moral nor nurturing, but raw, self-serving, and indifferent to male survival. The fear is not of oppression reversed, but of rules removed, of a nature unleashed without pretense. A woman who no longer needs to please, no longer needs to depend, no longer needs to hide behind innocence. That fear is older than law. For most of history, restraint was mutual. Men were bound by honor, duty, responsibility. Women were bound by necessity. They needed male protection, provision, access to structure. But the moment that need disappears, the arrangement shifts. Power no longer flows in one direction, it scatters. And what remains is not partnership, but negotiation between two liberated predators. Men speak of independence as progress, but rarely confront what it means to face a woman unbound. A woman who does not need them, does not fear them, and does not love them in the way they imagined. The protector becomes disposable. The provider becomes irrelevant. The knight has no princess to serve, only a rival to compete with. And beneath the surface, this is what unsettles him. Not her strength, but her freedom from him. This is not hatred, it is instinct. The male ego, built on being needed, collapses when it isn't. And as women rise, the mask of idealism slips. The man sees not a delicate flower, but a calculating equal. And she sees his panic. Modern culture praises female autonomy, but it does not ask what fills the void where dependence once lived. Love becomes conditional. Loyalty becomes transactional. And the truth, terrifying to both, is that freedom may reveal not unity, but indifference. Not balance, but mutual threat. Attraction is not born from similarity. It is born from tension, from the magnetic pull between opposites that do not understand each other, yet cannot look away, masculine and feminine, order and emotion, risk and safety. It is this polarity, not sameness, that creates desire. And when that tension is flattened in the name of progress, something vital disappears, not just from relationships, but from culture itself. Today, we are told that men and women should be interchangeable, that gender is a costume, that roles are oppressive, that balance means neutrality. But polarity does not survive neutrality. Fire needs air, not more fire. The more we erase the distinct energies of man and woman, the less we feel that primal current that once made love dangerous, thrilling, and real. Men are told to be softer, women are told to be stronger, and yet both end up confused, unfulfilled, directionless. The man suppresses his aggression until it turns into passivity or rage. The woman chases power until she resents the burden of performance. Each becomes a half version of the other. Neither feels whole. And the friction that once sparked passion turns into boredom or resentment. Polarity is not inequality, it is difference. And difference is not oppression, it is chemistry. To lose that is to lose not just attraction, but meaning. The dance between sexes becomes static. The chase ends before it begins. Everyone plays it safe. No one gets what they want. This is the quiet tragedy of modern love. Not hatred, not conflict, but numbness. A flat line where there was once voltage. A peace that feels more like absence. The erasure of masculine and feminine does not bring harmony. It brings sterility. And without polarity, not only does desire die, so does life. It is tempting to blame, to point at men and accuse them of cruelty, to point at women and accuse them of manipulation. But blame is a child's tool, a way to simplify what is far more complex. The truth is colder, older, and harder to swallow. No one designed this. No one chose it. We are not villains. We are functions of a logic deeper than reason. Nature did not ask what was fair. It only asked what would survive. Men were shaped by danger, competition, the demand to provide. Women were shaped by risk, vulnerability, the burden to protect life within. Each developed instincts suited to their role. He, hardened by necessity. She, sharpened by intuition. Neither is inherently good. Neither is inherently evil. They are simply different, and difference is where conflict begins. What we mistake for betrayal is often biology. What we call coldness, calculation, distance, it is survival wearing a human face. The struggle between the sexes is not a war of intentions. It is a collision of needs that rarely align. We long for understanding, but are wired to misread one another. The man demands loyalty, while the woman seeks security. He offers freedom. She wants safety. And in that tension, hearts break, again and again. But perhaps the greatest illusion is the belief that we were ever meant to fully understand each other. Maybe the task is not agreement, but awareness. Not fusion, but balance. To see the other not as enemy or extension, but as mystery. And in that mystery, find respect, not resolution. Love, if it is to survive the death of illusion, must be built on this understanding that men and women are not meant to mirror each other, but to meet at the edge of what they are and accept what they can never fully grasp.